Shabbat. I'm not really feeling like doing a live stream or doing much at all, but I wasn't going to do anything at all today. Actually, no, it's a lie. I was going to do this, but then I hit a bump in the road. So I'm going to do it anyway because just going to muscle through it. It's got to push ahead. So anyway, I'm becoming more cognizant, especially in the last week or two, of the battle that goes on inside myself. Um, the writings of the Apostle Paul are not just words anymore. They're pretty much like my own journal, where he says that the flesh and the spirit war against each other. And sometimes I feel like um, there's a story about the two wolves. That's a pretty famous one. I'm going to look that up and just read it to you. Two wolves. It's a native story, I think. I don't know, like when you feed the most. I don't want to read that in the original version. Not a long story. It's very relevant to the war between the flesh and the spirit that goes on. Uh, I think especially in believers, not so much those in the world, because they're pretty much. I don't think there is a battle. Maybe the only battle would be the battle of the conscience, the moral voice of reason between the id or whatever, the super ego. I don't know. Basically, carnal nature against uh, your voice of reason, your conscience. And then once the conscience dies out, the person becomes a sociopath without any conscience. So, how the tale of the two wolves within determines the one you feed most. So, I'm going to read it as it pertains to what the Apostle Paul said regarding the flesh and the spirit war against each other. So, this is from September 23rd, 2017, and this is from medium.com, like a mainstream website. And it says here, and one of the elders of the city said, "Speak to us of good and evil." And he answered, "You are good in countless ways, and you are not evil when you are not good." Okay, that's Khalil Gibran, the prophet. So the story begins here. The article begins. One evening, an elderly Cherokee brave told his grandson about a battle that goes on inside people. "My dear one, the battle between two wolves is inside us all. One is evil. It is anger, envy, jealousy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, subtlety, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego." I'm going to add there carnality and sin, the flesh. "The other one is good, the other wolf. It is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, which is like peace, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. I'm going to add uh, gentleness or zedek. Uh, I'm going to add uh, zedek, goodness, righteousness, faith, emunah, meekness. I think it's already there. Humility, self-control, matzar, um, and the rest of the fruit of the spirit. The grandson thought about it for a moment and then asked his grandfather, "Which wolf wins?" The old Cherokee replied, "The one you feed." The tale of the two wolves portrays the good and evil that lives within us, represented by the conscious and the unconscious desire of man. I'm going to add there, um, represented by the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, Spirit of Christ, Jesus, and the carnality, the flesh, the sin that dwells in us, our old man. If we are unconscious of our thoughts, we are at the mercy of feeding the evil wolf. And you know what? You don't have to be unconscious of your thoughts. We just have to feed our carnal nature. We don't have to be unconscious. We just have to willingly do what we think is right and not live according to the Torah. Our unconscious thoughts are the unresolved or repressed parts of our psyche. The evil wolf asserts its power when we least expect it because it is hidden from view. And I could say, well, even the enemy asserts his power because he is invisible. He works in the attitudes of people, in the uh, prince and power of the air. So you can bet he's working in the media, propaganda, different kind of agendas when it comes to dividing people by race and class and all that, politics. I'm aware of this darkness when a driver abruptly cuts me off in traffic and my ego is threatened. I react in a fit of simmering confrontation, believing I have been wronged. It is upon reflection I recognize this as an unconscious anger seeking to protect itself. It's kind of philosophical, but the ego strives to assert its will to protect and strengthen itself, and so we fall prey to its needs. And I'm going to say, well, our self, our ego, our who we identify ourselves as, and our self-importance wants to defend itself from feeling offended or shamed or our reputation is affected or we're just saving face. We want to save face. David Richo, PhD, psychotherapist and teacher, states our ego was never meant to die, only to be tamed so that its wild energies could be. Okay, let me just check the stream, make sure it's still going. Okay. It says here, our ego is never meant to die, only to be tamed so that its wild energies could be put to better use. And I'm going to disagree with that. It says the old man is supposed to die and Christ Jesus is supposed to live in its place. To mitigate acting out our unconscious desires, we become mindful of our thoughts instead of numb to them. We witness them with openness and tenderness instead with binding judgment. Maybe there's a balance. We can be gentle with ourselves to a point, but we don't tolerate sin. And we have to judge ourselves and set the boundaries. If our mind wants to look at pornography or whatever, we got to say, you know what, that's enough. We got to put an end to that. Similarly, the shadow of self comprises the unknown dark side of our personality. To disown the dark side means going to war with ourselves, yet to accept ourselves as a whole is to embody our strengths and limitations, our shadow self. I disagree with this. I think we have to uh, throw aside those weights. We have to throw aside the sin and forsake it completely. We can't have it still linger. A little leaven leavens the whole lump. This can be seen the yin yang symbol. Yeah, see, this is getting to Buddhism, like Hinduism. I'm going to continue reading anyhow. The two halves that together complete wholeness. What we feed gives rise to goodness, or the collapse of character, a false persona. Um, Frank Outlaw talked about how thoughts become words, which become deeds, which become habits, which become character. And that's something we learn in religion class in high school. Um, how can we stop feeding the fear and anger within? Um, so I was getting into philosophy here about how darkness is the absence of light and such. Well, I don't agree with this, so we're not going to continue reading it. Nature, nurture the goodness within. Okay, Buddha once said, "No one can make me angry unless I have it inside." That's an interesting thought. I'm not going to disagree with that. It's interesting that if there's no sin in you, or you're not thinking sin, or there's just not something that's habitual, yeah, maybe it will not be brought out. I don't know. That's an interesting statement. But to really, I don't know. It just has to be your nature. You got to be one with Elohim and just say, okay, he's slow to anger, he's patient, he's merciful. So if I'm one with him, I'll also be like he is, because you're one with his spirit. The author of the Celestine Prophecy, James Redfield, said, "Where attention goes, energy flows. Where intention goes, energy flows." Okay. So, yeah, I just want to stick to the wolf part of this presentation. So, yeah, I've really become more cognizant of, became more cognizant of the battle within. And I thought I had a handle on it, and you know what? I think that's probably where, I mean, just being aware of it, that battle within is such a big step, because this week I knew what my body wanted, and my body would speak to me saying, I want to do this, I want to do that, or I'm feeling angry, or I'm feeling ignored or lonely, or whatever it is. It's feeling something, and it wants me to bend to its whims. So I'm just going to be completely frank and just pour it all out right now. I'm just going to say that, for instance, what was one thing that really stood out to me? It was staying up late. I mean, it is late, but I mean, staying up later. Um, the body is saying, stay up later. I want to watch this movie. Let's just finish this, or whatever it is, right? And the spirit, I can feel the spirit, whether it's the spirit of Yah or the Holy Spirit, or just my conscience. Basically, the spirit that knows what is good is telling me, you know what? I know what you're asking, body, but let hear me out. Hear me out, body. This is not a good path to take. Um, just trust me. I know what I'm doing. I know what you're asking, but you're not the master here. I'll consider what you're saying, but you know what? I'll just consider it for a second and put you down gently and say, body, we'll watch it tomorrow. Whatever you want to do, we'll do it tomorrow, but we got to put a halt to it. And we need to put a stop to it, because we need we need to put a stop to it, because you know life is lived day to day, and we can see the things you want to do, body. For instance, you know watch a movie, play video games, or have leisure time, whatever it is. You want to just have life to be fun and enjoyable. But, you know, the more we are disciplined, the more you give in to me, the spirit, you have more opportunity to do that. But if we give in to you, all we're doing, we're both losing. So you're going to have less time for leisure, and I'm going to have less time. We're just basically the focus is on the body. We're saying we're trying to convince this child within. I guess it's like a child within. You're saying, you know what? I know you want to have fun. I know you want to do these things, but hear me out. We're going to have a lot more opportunity to do so if we just control our time management. So, you want to play, let's just say, an hour of video games or watch a 2 hour movie. You can do not just one of those in a day. You could do like maybe four of those. You can play 2 hours of video games and watch two movies, but you gotta go to bed early so that we can get things done the next day. And then you free up your schedule. But if we stay up late till, let's just say 4 a.m., 6 a.m., we're gonna wake up past noon, and we're only gonna have, just enough time to eat, to just do the basics, maybe at the most play an hour of video games or whatever, or just spend all our time in video games, and your health will suffer and you're not going to be happy. You think what you want is going to make you happy, but it isn't. So this isn't what my presentation is on. It's just me venting right now, but I want to vent a little more. So there's also, the pulls of the flesh that say, um, I want to get angry because of some YouTube comment, or I want to get angry because of what I see in the news, or what someone posted on Facebook or social media, or what someone said to me in real life, or someone's trying to pull me into an argument about some controversial topic. And my normal, well, not normal, but the carnal self within me, my ego and whatever, what have you, is saying, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's get angry. It's good to put people in their place, and you're feeding your ego." And I'm saying, you know what? It's not about me. It's no longer about you, ego. It's not about me. It's just about holding my tongue. And if it gives glory to God, I will speak. But if it doesn't, it's just about making myself right, and focusing on my own pleasures. Then we're gonna have to say no to that. We're gonna have to hold our tongue. We're gonna have to exercise the strictest self control. So I found this week has been very profitable in that area. Whereas four times before in the past, I would engage in silly arguments, very trivial things about foolishness, and then more recently, more serious things regarding religion, politics, or social issues. And those are valid, but they don't really go anywhere, especially if the other person is not there to listen, to hear you out, but just to just to hear the sound of their own voice and to try to prove you wrong. It isn't a respectful debate, or even a discussion, an open-minded discussion. It's simply a it is a debate to prove you wrong, prove them right, and to tune you out when you're speaking. And that's not those are just unprofitable. So when those situations came up, and they inevitably do, if you're alive and you have a pulse, and you meet people either on the internet and real life, and people, we don't agree on every little thing. That's just life. So I had to stop myself and say, is this really what I want to say? And is this giving glory to Yah? And the answer was no. The answer was, say and do the things that give him glory. Say and do things that'll bring you closer to him. Say and do things that'll edify you and other people around you, that'll encourage people around you. Not saying you always agree with people, but sometimes there's a time you just gotta not engage in a conversation, especially you see it going in that direction that is not a good direction. But I thought I not mastered it, but I thought I got a pretty good grip on my carnality, and uh, that I could do it, but it's not me. It's really the spirit that does it, and it's not my spirit. It's the spirit of Yah, spirit of Yeshua, Hamashiach, that is the one really helping me. Not saying I have the fullness of his spirit, but I can feel that he's hasn't given up on me. He hasn't left me completely. He's still there, and that voice. If you keep feeding that wrong wolf, the carnal, fleshly wolf, that voice will be a still small voice to almost nothing. But if you're feeding the correct spirit and you're being guided by the spirit, you're bending to the will of the spirit, you are submitting to it, you are letting it lead you, and you're constantly saying, okay, flesh, I'll put you in your place, or you're reasoning out with the flesh, or you're just tuning out the flesh. Sometimes you have to tune it out completely, especially when you're in public and you have women who wear yoga pants and all these, not even yoga pants, it's not even go there, just women who wear clothing that is not, scripturally appropriate or even by Yah standards. Again, women who show their ankle. Like, I know it sounds really strict, but I've gotten to the point that even women who show their ankle, that's too much. Back in Victorian era times, you show your ankle, that's scandalous. That's like showing your, nakedness, basically. So, I mean, I've gotten to a point where, especially during this week, where a woman would wear a skirt and it's below the knee. I'm still shaking my head. I'm going, that's too short. Uh, I know in high school it's like no more than 2 inches above the knee, but that was the world standard, yeah, standard. Although it's not black and white, we can see, prostitutes back then would dress very according to our standards conservatively, but it actually wasn't. They're showing everything. Um, it's sad, the trend of this world, but you know women wearing such tight clothing, and also men as well, but I mean women are the ones who are really spearheading this sexual weaponizing their sexuality, and women should be covered up. They should cover up their heads, uh, head coverings, and there's many interpretations of that. I'm not going to get into that too much, but at the very least cover up their hair, right? And not by a wig, not some kind of thing that looks like hair. It's like it would be like a woman who's clothed in a bodysuit but still showing their nipples, although it's not their nipples, it's the bodysuit's nipples. That kind of defeats the purpose. I don't understand how that is even used as a thing, but anyway, it's just an excuse to. It's a loophole, basically. You're finding a legal loophole and it's being exploited. So I don't know. It's just a rant now. The point of this video is supposed to work in my presentation. It's 8 days away. Don't think I've ever started this early. Like in a long time. Usually I have a message written in advance, like the first couple ones, but after that I was writing them pretty much the week of. So I would start them pretty much Monday, or I don't know, not this early, not in the Shabbat. Um, but I'm gonna look and see where is this right now. Okay. All right. So I mean that's my rant. I had to get off my chest because I mean if you only knew, people they don't want to reveal their whole heart on the internet. And I'm not gonna do that. It's just not right. But it is painful. Things that we really go through, that we choose to keep locked away. Um, Not to get too specific. I was gonna say Pacific. Not to get too specific, specific. But essentially, put it in a nutshell, the one thing I wanted to do, or not the one thing, but one of the things I've wanted to do for quite a while, I won't be able to do for I don't know how long. I mean, I'll be a little more specific, but I wanted to just attend. I just wanted to attend at the weekly Shabbat. And I think some places are opening up again. In the United States, you guys are so spoiled over there. Y'all just attend. I don't think some people even wore masks. Like some people even have to lock down. Some people didn't even have to do social distancing. Some people, they just continued like nothing changed. And others, had to take precautions. And then they opened up way earlier than other countries. And, but whatever. I mean, that's the past. Um, but I mean, that's just something I thought would be returning to normal. Just attending the Shabbat again, services with people. Um, but you know what? I guess as part of the growing pains, as much as I hate to say it, I thought that reaching a certain goal was, that was the goal, that was the destination. But it was just part of the journey. It was just a stepping stone, maybe. Sad as it sounds, but realistic too. Um, it's like I'm mourning the loss of something that meant so meant so much to me. Attending Shabbat services with other believers. It is very. It's like a piece of me died. That's what it feels like. But you know what? When I look at the rest of the world, especially those in the Middle East who can't even, it's not even a thought in their head that they could attend some kind of organized Shabbat or Sabbath or anything with believers to meet with other Christians at all is unthinkable. It's unfathomable. It's unfathomable. It's virtually zero possibility of that happening in their wildest dreams, basically. The next time or the only time they'll ever meet with other believers is maybe one to one or in the kingdom, in the millennium or something. So when I put it in that perspective, I realize maybe I am in a similar boat to them. Maybe I'm being pushed against the wall, but it isn't so I give up and just abandon the faith or just give up fighting or whatever. It's pushing me up against the wall so I can grow. It's increasing the fire, the intensity of the fire in the furnace, so I'll shine brighter. It's not so that I'll be destroyed. Although that's what the enemy wants. He wants me to be destroyed. He wants me to give up. He wants me to just give up completely, to go the other way from where I've been marching on, and just to feed the flesh and feed that wolf, the wrong wolf, feed my carnal self and tune out the spiritual voice, the Holy Spirit's voice, the Spirit of Christ, the Spirit of the Father that is urging me to go on. So when I put into that perspective, I realize maybe things will be better. I don't see it at the moment, but big picture, you zoom out and you look at every, the beginning of where I started and the middle and even not just me, but even the rest of humanity. And we look where we're going, and maybe some things were lacking in Shabbat fellowships and, congregating. Someone had said, I don't know from what the source was, but essentially what they were saying, what they were expressing was, I don't believe that following the anointed one, Joshua, that me sitting here for 2 hours and then, we eat food together and say niceties to each other and hang out for a bit. And pretty much you're insulated and you're not really helping the community around you. You're just learning and then fellowshipping and then you go home and same thing and you do that again and on the holy days and all that. And I'm not saying that's evil. I'm just saying that's limited. You're limiting what Christ can do, what Christ Jesus can accomplish through you. So perhaps perhaps I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore, but perhaps yeah, perhaps the path I'm going to now is really the path that Joshua the Anointed One wants me to take. And it's not like I've chosen it per se. It's not like I'm saying, hey, I don't want to attend services. I do not want to do that and I'd rather do this. But I'm not really given a choice too much. Like I do have a choice, but I don't. So I'm going to have to come up with something very clever to be able to minister and to do the works of Yeshua on the Shabbat. And and we'll see how it goes. I just pray that um, that I'm given wisdom as to how to proceed and kind of balance things out too, and not feel resentful or anything about that or anything about like that. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. That's essentially what it is that I wanted to attend services, but um, I'm in a situation that it's just not going to happen, unfortunately. But like I said, perhaps this is for the better. We'll see where it takes me, but I just want to make sure that I don't give up. And you know what? I almost gave up today. I almost did. It's like I was able to tune out the bad wolf, the fleshly wolf, the carnal wolf most of this week, and it was dumbed down to like a 1 out of 10. I felt like 1 or 2 out of 10. And the spirit was taking charge. It was like a 9 out of 10, just taking the wheel. But then after I found out that I may not be able to attend for I don't know how long. Um, it's like I went from 1 to 8 or 9, pretty much let that wolf take over. And it was scary. It was scary because that voice became small again, the still small voice, the voice of the spirit became small again, whereas the other one became so loud. He's like, I'm taking the driver's seat. And it's not like, it wasn't like I don't even know how to express it, but it's like, it's because of the pain I felt. Like I felt a lot of pain. Again, it's like something died inside of me. piece of me died, and the only thing that could assuage it, if that's even a word, assuage, that could relieve that pain, and for me to help cope with that pain was turning to carnal things. I wanted to look at pornography. I wanted to do whatever I wanted to do. I wanted to feel whatever pleasure or something, and I realized that's why I turned to it, is because of this pain. That's how I deal with my pain. It's not, well, I mean, some people, and maybe sometimes I've turned to those kinds of things, to feeding the flesh and to doing whatever it wants, because it's just habitual, and you get stuck into that, and it's just part of your daily routine. Whereas when you stop doing that, as I've done, um, for the last, I mean, I had a good streak going on. I still do. For about, what day is it? Pretty much almost 7 months now. Um, I've looked at inappropriate things and things like that, but I mean, I have not given in completely, where I'm 100%. I've given up and just, you know, let go, or whatever you want, however you want to express it. I been able to, by the help of the Father and the Son, just to find a way of escape. And when you realize, or when I realized, that I didn't turn to those things because I'm evil. It's not that I'm just evil. I just want to do this because I'm a bad guy. No, it's because I'm dealing with pain. I'm dealing with pain and isolation, loneliness, and I'm not doing this to throw a pity party. I'm just saying this. Those are the things that the flesh is feeling. If I would interview him, he'd say, "Yeah, I'm feeling pain. Like something died inside of me. Social isolation and loneliness, and being pretty much alone in terms of a lot of things that I believe, and the way that I perceive things, how I perceive this culture, how I perceive lots of things, how I even comport myself now, and appear and speak and think and all that. Um, that's one of the few ways I can deal with it, is just to seek after those fleshly things. And when I remind myself that to give in, like we call it fapping in the internet, but when you give into fapping, that actually does, it's counterproductive. You think that it's going to help you feel better, but it actually does has the opposite effect. You think that it's going to help you to relieve the pain, to feel more happy, but all those things you desire, happiness and being pain free, and um, having more whatever strength, or whatever it is, joy, that's all. That it does happen for maybe at the most, I don't know, a minute or less, but everything from that point forward is just a downward spiral. It's a downward spiral of depression, of low energy, of suicidal tendencies, of low testosterone, of depression, of, I think I said depression already, but it's just everything is, even age faster, like vigor. I mean, the list never ends, really. And more pain. Yeah, you actually feel more pain. Um, Sometimes I do forget this reminder, an important reminder, but when I'm on the ball and you go through a streak, you realize just how you make it just by the skin of your teeth. And you got to keep reminding yourself right in the heat of the battle, like say you're right at the cusp, you're right about to fail, or your eyes are being led to look at whatever women or whatever it is, inappropriate content, you're going, oh man, I just gotta close my eyes. I just gotta close the window or close the tab, or even before you even go there, you're saying no. You're saying to yourself, no, this is not the right way. This is not gonna help you. You think your pain will be alleviated. You think um you're gonna feel better or whatever. You're gonna feel all those that the pain will go away and all these. No, it won't. It won't go away. You're just gonna feel worse. It is a lie. It's a deception. It's like sugar. It's like refined sugar. Yeah, you get a burst of energy for I don't know a few minutes, but then after that, you're gonna come crashing down. You're gonna have hypoglycemia at some points. You're gonna actually develop cancer and heart disease. Yeah, from sugar. Causes blindness, causes all sorts of diseases. Sugar is as bad as cocaine, if not worse, in some ways, because it's so addictive and it's a silent killer. We even have our kids hooked on it. Children are hooked on sugar. I was hooked on sugar for most of my life until only recently this year, and it's taken me I don't know how many decades now, but better now than ever. So I think that's the end of my rant. I don't know if I should start a new stream. Probably should, but I think the temptation is once I click end stream, I'm not gonna do a stream. So you know what? I'm just gonna muscle through it. Like I said at the beginning, just gonna muscle through it because I don't I don't see that. The more that what I realized this week, more than excuse me, more than ever, is that what I realized this week. How I can do this is more like better lighting, but let me just take a look at how this looks. Oh, it doesn't look so good. Okay. But what I realized this is that the more you say no to your flesh, the more um, I lost my train of thought. Basically, because I know myself, right? I know if I turn off a stream, I end it. I might not do another one. I'm tempted to just take an hour break or just not to be accountable to myself and to what I'm supposed to be doing. So I realized the more that I listen to the right voice and be guided by the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, the set apart Spirit, the more I know myself. If that makes sense. So the more that I listen to that Spirit, the more I can identify the wrong things or the flesh, what it wants to do, and I'm able to look at it. I'm able to look at it from a perspective and say, you know, um, I know what you want. Like I break it down. I say, okay, I know what the body wants. I know how this works. And I have to bargain with it sometimes. I have to say, okay, body, I know how you work. All right. I know what you want, but I want to get what the spirit wants. So I'm going to have to manipulate you, body. In some ways, I have to manipulate my body or I have to beat it into submission, as the Apostle Paul says. Not like punching yourself, but I mean, you have to bring it through the ringer sometimes in terms of, disciplining. So, in one instance, for example, a good one is just it is has to do with waking and sleeping. I think I said this already, but I'm going to try to be more specific. Um, so when I go to bed, I'll just tell you my bedtime routine. I I talk to myself in my head. I say, okay, you're awake right now, and you don't want to go to bed. You'd rather go pick up your this device here and watch YouTube, and it doesn't matter what I'm watching, whether it's good or bad, whether it's something spiritual or something carnal, doesn't matter. The point is time is being wasted, or I'm not sleeping. The point is I'm awake, and that's kind of like what's happening right now. But this is for a different reason. This is to to cope with things, and just to I mean, the goal tonight is just to go to bed before 2. So if I can go to bed before 2, that's fine. I'm gonna put that strict limit there, 2 o'clock, and wake up, y'all willing, 9 o'clock for the second prayer of the day, because I'll have missed the first prayer. So yeah, 6, 9, 12, 3, 6, and then 9 again, and then maybe another one will be 7. But I mean, that would have been that would 6. But if you wake up at 6, then it'll be 6, 9, 12, 3, 6, 9, and then bedtime or whatever. You fit in a seventh one somewhere. Usually, you would fit that in before 6 a.m. maybe. So essentially, yeah. Rewind, but so the situation is this: I can't go to bed, or I'm having a hard time going to bed because of insomnia, which I've been struggling with since high school, or even before that. I don't know. I've been struggling with this for most of my life, and I understand why. I understand why that is. It's because I mean, inherently, my habitually, I'm a night owl, but when I'm on the ball, I'm really on the ball. Like I'll wake up at 3, 4 a.m. and I'll go to bed at 7, 8 p.m. Obviously, that's not happening today, but just for the sake of argument, yeah, or not for the sake of argument, but basically just going back to what I was saying, I know my body. So this body operates such that if there are bright lights, and I'm not saying like this light, but if you're being stimulated by a device with a bright screen, I would have to put it on night light mode or night shift mode, where the blue light is not as intense, so that melatonin can be able to be produced. So um, anyway, yeah, I know how my body works. Um, so when you're really knowledgeable and familiar with the way your body works. So, for instance, when I have to go to bed, I know what I have to do. I have to go somewhere cold. Number one, go somewhere cool, not sleep in some sauna area, like some place that's warm, too overly warm. Got to wear the right comfortable clothing. Got to lie down, preferably on my back, and not have a pillow that's too, I don't know, like something that's not too raised up, but something just pretty good. And not have too many pillows, because I have too many pillows, I'm going to be distracted and have too many things, and I'm going to be like, oh, I don't know, I can't breathe or whatever. The less pillows, the better. So if I just have like one for my head, then that's perfect. But otherwise, I get distracted with other things in the bed. So that's what I have to do. I have to just keep one pillow on there, and then very light blankets, unless it's winter time. Then just have enough blanket, and uh, and then what I also do, I usually put Vicks. I'll put some Vicks or menthol or whatever around my nasal passage. That really opens it up. I'm able to take in air more efficiently, or it just feels great. And then I would then put a blindfold on my eyes, and then earplugs, and that's it. I lie down and just let my thoughts settle. Don't think anything violent or scary or sad or depressing or evil. Just think of I'm kind of like picturing myself. I'm like zooming out of my body almost, and I'm picturing something peaceful, something scriptural, something that is edifying, encouraging, just summing up the day and just being thankful for everything that happened and just thinking about something and kind of repeating that thought until it just becomes like hypnotizing in a way. So I'm thinking, okay, like, the sky, the sky, the sky. And then just after a while, it becomes mesmerizing, like, and then you just fall asleep. That seems to work for me. I mean, other people have their other techniques, whatever works on you. So, I mean, that's just one example, just going to bed. So, I guess another real world example is um, this is something I've struggled with, but I'm trying to improve is like when I go out in public. And in the past, full disclosure, women, attractive women, whatever, like they'll walk around and they're wearing their very inappropriate clothing, showing their, for lack of better term, aura, how they say in the Arabic, the aura. I don't know, but it's a term the Muslims use, meaning that it's like their form of their body, and it's like what's the point of wearing clothing if you could pretty much see the form of your body? And so that's what's happening. You see their form of their body, and it's like leaves nothing to the imagination. So in the past, I would be very, I catch my attention. I'd be intrigued. I'd look not just once, not just twice, maybe more than twice, and you're almost like tempted to just stare. But now, I mean, fast forward to present day. I don't know how long ago that was where I was staring at women, but whatever. I would. I don't know how many years ago now, but uh, now when that happens, I'm almost repulsed. Like even my facial expression is just turned off. So before, I mean, I'm just gonna pretend like the camera is a woman, and I don't know, maybe I'll just look up a picture of a woman. I don't know how I would do this, but if I look up a picture of a woman and she's like half naked or whatever, I'm gonna go, whoa, right? And then you're just kind of like you try to look away and you're going, you're like, that's interesting. And you can't stop looking. You're just kind of like, yeah, it's enjoyable. And the more you look, the more it's pleasurable or whatever. But now I'm trying to uh, kind of form a new habit, so to speak. So, say that same situation happens now, and I'm going, oh, that's repulsive to me. Not that women are attractive. I'm not saying that I'm not attracted to women. I'm saying that that kind of um, the way this woman is displaying her body like she's a piece of meat, or that she's trying to tempt men. I know that they're not trying to do this purposely. Like some do, but for the most part, I don't think most women are trying to lure men to their death or to hell through their, the way they dress. I don't think that's their intention, but they don't understand that's what's actually happening. They're leading men to sin. So I have to just shake my head and go, you know what? This woman's tempting me to get involved with her or whatever, tempting me in some way or another, some form or another. I'm going, no, no, just not gonna look, not even gonna let it, I'm not even going to let it to develop or blossom or anything. Just snuff it out even before it starts. It's like a woman who's attractive and then you find out she's been married and has kids. Like I think it's more so the kids part than being married, but whatever. They're both not desirable in a potential partner. But you're saying, she's been married before or multiple times and she has kids. Like, do not proceed. Just nix it in the bud. Just nip it in the bud. Not even an option. Not an option at all. And that's the way I have to approach these situations where you're at a Walmart or in public, wherever you are, out inside of your house. Basically, you're not in the confines of your living quarters, and there's these women. It's just so happens it's women because I'm not homosexual, so whatever way you swing, whatever, right? But in particular, I'm a straight person, so I'm attracted to women. So then when I see these women out there, and I'm just going to saying in my head, now I can say this now because I've gone through this past week or 2 weeks now. That I'm really talking to myself. Okay, body, I know what you want to see. This girl, you want to see her derriere, her her cleavage, her breastises, whatever you want to see. I know you want to see that, and it's not evil in and of itself that you want to do that because that's what God made you to do, to be attracted to women. But that's not the correct way that God wants you to approach it. Yah doesn't want you to get involved with a woman and then relationship will create children who are not going to serve him, and they won't be taught in the right way, or you're going to marry into a family that's just you know devoid of faith, and it will not be good because this will die with you basically. So don't even go there, don't even start, because I mean, look what happened with Abraham. Look what happened to a lot of people in the Bible where they had kids with the wrong person, and then they regretted it because when they did have kids with the right person, it became like a war, like a civil war between their offspring. And so don't let that happen to you, essentially. And I'm going, yeah, yeah, that's true. You gotta look at the big picture. You gotta look at the big picture and see, okay, where's this leading to? What's the end result? It's passing pleasure of one night stand or whatever it is, and you're going, yeah, that's really not what I want. That's not what y'all wants either, because you do that, you do that kind of thing, and those consequences live not just with you, but even into generations ahead, or not even generations ahead, but it has a lasting impact. And you're actually not helping the other person at all either to fulfill their, God-given potential. You're just keeping them in the dark. I mean, the better thing to do, if I would be bold enough, is to approach the woman and say, ma'am, excuse me, what you're wearing is making me uncomfortable. Could you wear something more modest, please, in the future? Or if you could do so now, put something on. And, do that respectfully. Don't say it accusingly, and do it privately too. Don't, or not privately, but I mean, at least incognito, as low key as possible. You're not trying to call her out and say, lady, you look like a whore. Like, you're not going to do that and embarrass her. That's not what your goal is. You're trying to show compassion and understanding and say, I know how fashion is, and, I can appreciate what you're wearing, but I'm not that kind of guy anymore. And you're probably trying to attract a man that will love you for who you are, but that's not how you do it. You're not going to attract the right kind of guy like that. You're just going to attract a dog who's going to use you for your body and then not marry you. Marriage is so far from his mind, does not want to be committed to you, will not want to have children with you because that's not what they're thinking about. They're thinking of just, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, see you later, drop you off at the curb. You know what I mean? So, uh, yeah, it's better to just tell a woman, might have to do it and say, ma'am, excuse me, but what you're wearing is making me uncomfortable. And we have to say that not just once, not just twice, not just a dozen times, might have to be 1,000 times until the word gets through and more women, they'll be tweeting about it. Say, oh, some dude who looks like a Muslim approached me and said, you look like someone from the Bible. He approached me and said, what you're making, what you're wearing makes me feel uncomfortable. Could you wear something modest, please? Like, what? Please, man. No, I'm never gonna do that. Not changing for any man, some strange man or whatever it is. But then, like say I do it 100 times, and one girl says, you know what, that affected me because I never realized that I was dressing inappropriately until someone pointed it out. Because, you know, despite what we men think or what women think, women do care what men think about how they dress because they're not dressing just for themselves. A lot of women say, "Yeah, I'm just I feel sexy. I want to look good." No, because if that was true, you wouldn't care about putting on makeup. You wouldn't care about dressing up. Period. You just be you. You just be natural you, but that's not what women do. They want to look good because that's just, God made them that way in a way to emphasize their beauty. I'm not saying that's all women are good for, but there's a certain aspect of that beauty that God did on purpose so that the relationship could be strong. So men would be attracted to women and vice versa. So, all it takes is for one woman to come to grips and say, yeah, you know what, he was right. I was not being modest. I used to dress modestly or whatever. My parents told me to, and I just rebelled. And maybe I am approaching life in the wrong way, and I want to attract the right kind of guy. So maybe I'll just, experiment and wear a long skirt and maybe a top that's not revealing my cleavage and see how men react. And I think not some, I think many women will be shocked to realize, men are looking at me differently now. They're treating me differently. I'm actually getting more respect and more attention because of the way I'm, wearing long sleeves and covering up my ankles and whatnot, and even the head covering. Men are like, wow, who's that? Like the way she carries herself. I mean, it's one thing to dress modestly. It's another thing to carry yourself like a woman, like a lady. I mean, you can dress up in a hijab and a full burqa and all that stuff, but if you're still like, kind of like seductive, like doesn't matter. Like it's your body language too. It's got to be both the way you carry yourself. So I think some women will be really shocked to find out that when they dress conservatively and they behave conservatively and they speak conservatively and they think that way, and they just, it's a way of life for them. It's not just, oh, let me just be conservative but in whatever. But not saying freak in the sheets and streets. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that, that it's a mindset and that's who they are. Yeah, there's a time to be seductive, and that's when a husband and wife are about to uh, you know do it, to do the act. But yeah, I think they'll be shocked. Women will be shocked that when they actually are respecting themselves, they're going to get respect in return from men. They're not going to be catcalled and all that, and maybe they might still be to some degree. I mean, depends, but there is a wisdom there when a woman is behaving in a classy, elegant way and dressed that way, and it's just overall modest in respecting not only men around them and women around them and the community, whatever, everyone around them, but even God Himself, by the way they're choosing to dress, will make a huge difference to them in their lives. And that's just one small thing that needs to change in the world. I personally don't believe it will change too much. The only positive trend I see, or one of the few, or a few of them, are the movement of the messianic movements, where women are being encouraged to wear head coverings. Uh, you also have the growing movement of Islam, where more and more women are. That's they're pretty much the I'd say they're the leaders of conservative dressing. Um, the Muslim women. Some people like to say that they're oppressed and all that, and there is some truth to that. I think it's individual, it depends on the situation and circumstance. But I'm not going to put an umbrella statement and just judge them all and say, oh, they're all oppressed, because that's not true either. But it depends. It really depends on the individual, and whether they chose that, or whether they wanted to do it, or whether so many factors involved. But but I see that as a positive trend, where if there can be a balance between uh, the complete extreme thing where you're just covering up head to toe and it's a black and basically just looks like a big, I don't know, like a ghost, I guess, versus right in the middle where you still can tell it's a woman, and they're wearing an elegant, beautiful clothing. I mean, it's nice to look at, but it's not sexually seductive. It's elegant and classy, and you can see their face somewhat. I mean, I don't think it's wrong to see someone's face, but they're still covering up their hair. So anyway, yeah. So there's that. There's that. So you know, in light of all these problems and issues that whether I go through or other people go through in whatever country, in light of what's really going on, what believers are facing in other places where essentially they're living out the book of Acts, where they have to be in hiding. They cannot attend at a Shabbat service or congregation on penalty of death or imprisonment or whatever. It is all these problems just kind of fade away. When you look at what Joshua, the Anointed One, had to do, where he was persecuted, he was slandered, and they they bear false witness. They bore false witness against him. They humiliated him, embarrassed him. They possibly stoned him, and they definitely scourged him. They crucified him, spat on him. They punched him. I mean, the worst death. And that was, I mean, everything pales in comparison to that. Um, I mean, is it just comparing sob stories and saying, "Oh, mine is worse," and you should feel better? But no, I think it's about putting life into perspective. I have problems. You have problems. Everyone's got their own problems. But when we choose to just focus on ourselves and we say, "Oh, my pain. Oh, my sadness. Oh, my whatever I want to do, or I want to just give up," then we focus on the wrong thing. But if we focus on outside of ourselves and we see, how can I help in my community? How can I help in the body of Messiah? How can I help further the mission of the Father and realize my life isn't just about me. Like the body wants to say, "Oh, it's about me. It's about me. Feed me and let me experience pleasure. Let me have fun. Let me, give me a break here and there." Yeah, it's okay to take a break here and there, but I mean, recognize that this body, I have to tell my body and say, "Body, yep, you are not the body. You are only you're like I don't know how I would say it. You're like a appendage, you're not the hand or you're not the foot. You're like a toe or you're like a pinky or you're like this part of the finger or like this part of the finger or you're like the knuckle. Like even the hand needs a knuckle. Without the knuckle, it wouldn't be able to bend the fingers in a certain way. You wouldn't be able to punch. You wouldn't be able to protect yourself. And I don't know, a lot of things knuckles do. So I mean, you're like you're like the bending of, you're like the elbow or whatever. You're like one part of a bigger thing. So the sooner we realize that and not just be all about the pinky and pinky, you have your concerns, you have your pains. I pinch you and I burn you or whatever. You're going through pain and that's okay. You have to heal, but recognize you're part of something bigger than yourself. And only when you realize that and you work in accordance with everyone else around you, you can accomplish what what your purpose is. You can get not just more done, but you can accomplish your true purpose. So a lot of us, are being fed by the media, believe in yourself and do what you want and you can do it. You can do whatever your mind sets to do. And I'm not saying those are bad advices, but they're not exactly Torah either, because you're choosing to just say, "Pinky, it's all about you. You do what you do, Pinky, and achieve your dreams. Forget what ring finger wants and what thumb wants and what palm wants and what wrist wants." No, you got to realize, no, you're part of a bigger plan. And me, I got to tell my body, you're part of a bigger plan. It's not just me, individual me, right here in this chair, in this country, in this area. It's not about me. I'm a part of something bigger than me. Um, because if it was just about me, then I have to dismiss all the work being done by other people, such as, you know, Rebecca Biederman doing her ancient path new moon with the calendar, determining when the new year is. Joseph Dumond with the sighted moon and what they do there in sightedmoon.com, and things like that with the Jubilee cycle, sabbatical years, and all that. And then I have to dismiss the work of the ministry of even Tor Life Ministries with Mr. Paul Neeson and his ministry regarding like modesty and the proper diet and things like that. And then I have to dismiss the work of Joel Richardson and FAI and what they do preaching one of actually a very important work regarding the identity of the beast and its system and the false prophet on that. Like that is huge because for the longest time I've been inclined to believing that's the beast is Europe and the Antichrist we don't know yet, and it's going to be the Pope or something. You know what I mean? So I've long believed that, and it's been hard for me to extricate my mind and heart from that because it's been kind of it has been pounded into my head. I've been indoctrinated to to a great degree. So for me to just, you know, disregard it or not disregard it, but kind of be open to other ideas was not easy. But it was not until Walid Shobat, where he discussed the true meaning of the number of the beast or the mark of the beast, the name of the beast or whatever, you know, the symbols that most people know as triple digits of a certain number and number after five. So when he presented that, that really was a big eureka moment for me. And I thought he was the only one preaching that or teaching that. But on YouTube suggestions, and thank you, YouTube suggestions, because I would have never found Joel Richardson and FAI. I forgot his name right now, but the other guy with Joel, I forgot his name, but he's a singer anyway. Thomas something, Dalton Thomas. So those two guys, like they really nailed it. I think they're really onto something because it was next to impossible for the prophets to have predicted, and Daniel and even the one who wrote, you know, was it John who wrote Revelation, for them to predict some movement that would come 600 years after the Messiah would essentially take over the world, like literally would conquer big regions of the planet. Um, how many billions of people are believing that into that religious system? Um, it exists in this day. Again, I'm not here to put down that religion. I'm just saying, matter of factly, that's the reality we live in. And they keep some things from the Torah and from the Bible, and some things they don't. But it's important to recognize that there's a growing movement, even among that religious group, that the the Messiah, Yeshua, is calling them out, uh, manifesting himself through dreams and in real life, waking reality himself, being known as the man in white, apparently, if that's to be believed. But I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, maybe that is true, those accounts being shared. But anyway, the point of what is what was I getting to? Oh, I kind of went on a big rant, but anyway, yeah, what I'm trying to get to is yeah, the body. Um, I am not the hand. I am not the whole body. I'm not the arm. I'm not the fist. I'm not all five fingers. I'm probably just not even the whole pinky. I'm probably just like the knuckle of the pinky or just the nail or whatever, the hair on there. But the sooner I realize that, and maybe a lot of us realize that too, that we're part of something bigger than ourselves, and community is so essential for us to survive. I'm not saying that, yeah, we got to meet every week. I'm not saying that we shouldn't either. But when that's taken away, realize you took it for granted, you know. Yeah, we did take it for granted. I took it for granted. You really got to live like it's your last day, or attend Shabbat like it's your last Shabbat. Maybe sometimes, I'd go there or whatever, attend, and then you're thinking, oh, I'll be here next week, and it doesn't matter if I greet somebody or, no, it does matter. It does matter how you spend your time and whether you're true to yourself. I'm not saying be yourself like carnality. I'm saying, you know, there may not be another opportunity to, bless somebody or whatever you think it's been on your heart to do, or encourage somebody or just appreciate them. And so the sooner we realize we're part of something bigger, the better that we'll be for it. Because yes, we are part of something bigger than ourselves, and we have to work in tandem together. We can't just be doing our own thing. Yeah, I do my own ministry in a way with the Secrets Revealed, the Holy Bible channel, and I present the truth of the scriptures, and that's all well and good, but I can't just be isolated and not pay attention to what other people are doing, or not maybe communicate with them. And so we all kind of benefit from it. I mean, uh, Torah Life Ministries had a stream. They did a presentation on modesty or women's clothing, and I appeared on there. I was, had the opportunity to join. And yeah, made it possible. I joined, and I felt like everyone benefited from me being there and him having that forum for me to be there. So I benefited and he benefited. I felt like it was all in all a win-win. Not that I was special guest there, but I mean, I showed up there and it was very good. I felt that the spirit moved in that conversation. So what I'm trying to say now is, yeah, we're part of something bigger than ourselves. We aren't the body. The body is everyone put together, working in harmony, and not trying to tear each other down. But these are people who work together. They believe the same things. They work towards the same goal, and they just want to love each other and love the Father. And I think that's what it is. So I don't know what else to say about this. I went on a big rant about pain and all this stuff about the flesh and the spirit, and that's right and good, because I mean that's, the words of the New Testament are pretty much coming to life to me. It's not just something where it's like, oh yeah, the the man, physical man perishes day by day, but the spirit is renewed. I thought, oh okay, yeah, that sounds all nice and flowery, but now as you get older, you're going, it takes a lot of work and time and effort and sweat and blood and all that and tears just to stay in shape, keep your body, in tip top shape. But the spirit, it also takes training too. When you put in, I mean, I'm gonna say it, but you got to put in the time, quality time, yeah, but putting in the time. So uh, I felt like this week I put in, a better amount of time than I usually do into my channel, and into focusing on the right things, and I'm better off for it. Um, and I can feel spiritually, the spiritual body, if I can call it that, is in much better shape than if I would just, neglect my prayer life and my scripture study life, and really trying to be put my body into submission and beat it to submission, because that is it's hard to do on your own. And the sooner you realize it's not my will, it's not my strong will or determination that's keeping my carnality at check. It's the spirit of Yeshua HaMashiach and the Father that are the ones who are really the ones steering me, guiding me, and they're the ones who are exercising their power to help me to have power over my flesh, then the better it is, because I'm not relying on my own strength. I'm not saying, well, just stop it. No, you're actually saying, this is the divine spirit. This is part of it, or this is the spirit leading me anyhow to control myself, to say no, to control my emotions, to see and understand what I'm talking about. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about this, but it's been a challenging week in some ways. But the week's over now. It's the seventh day of the week, and Shabbat is supposed to be a joyful day. And after that bad news I got, it's kind of difficult to be joyful. But when you put things into perspective, suffering and persecution and all these things are not given to for no reason, and not there to cause you to give up. Although the enemy wants to use that to let you give up, to make you give up, but the Father's using it to refine us, because he knows when you add a little weight, the muscle grows bigger, or you make the fire a little hotter, the gold is more pure. So if the trial is harder and you feel like, I mastered it this week, but then no, there's something might be a little too hard for you to lift, but you know what? He knows what you're capable of. Then even the spiritual muscle in a way will grow. If I can call it that, spiritual muscle, the spiritual strength will grow. And anyway, yeah, I think that's what it is. So I'm going to get started with this message finally. I'll probably just do 5 minutes. I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes. So it's 1:30. And is there even sound coming out of this? There is. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start. This presentation again is 8 days from now. And I'm going to start. This is number 3, but it's actually number 1. This is the fruit of the Spirit called love. So I'm going to start playing it. This is 40 minutes. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'm just going to, obviously, we're only going to do 5-10 minutes. So the goal is to sleep before 2 a.m. And I think the time is 1:21. So let's get started. And I'll listen to it right now and see if it'll be audible. Put an alarm. Shalom, everybody. So went over so far the fruits of the Spirit, or the fruit of the Spirit, which is in Hebrew, went through long suffering, erech af, gentleness, which is chesed, goodness, which is tzaddik, faith, emunah, meekness, anava, temperance, matzah. So it's like 2. So this is what I believe are the closest spiritual definitions in the Hebrew concept of great minds. We looked at all the different possibilities, and that's what us led to those understandings, because these are all, you have to understand, these have to be attributes of Elohim, Yehovah Elohim. If they're not, if there's some kind of humanistic attribute, then it's no longer his fruit of the Spirit. It's not of his Ruach HaKodesh. It's not from Yehovah. Okay? It's not of the Lord God. People like using different names, so I understand sometimes the terms I use could be a turnoff. So I'll try to use terms that people are comfortable with. But again, the truth is the truth. Anyway, what I aim to do in this video is to do 3 concepts in one, because I feel like these are kind of straightforward, in my opinion. Love, joy, and peace, all in one video. So let's do that right now. Let's look at Hebrew for Christians. What do they say? Love is ahava. Okay, so ahava, I'm not going to look at the Greek definition at all, because that's been done to death. Okay. Okay, it actually just talks about agape. That's what it talks about pretty much. And okay, so I'm going to include that where I say I'm not going to go into the Greek. I'm not going to go into the Greek because that's been done to death. So, you know what? It doesn't really discuss it at all. To love our enemies, sure. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Joy, simcha. It says here, joy is chara. Okay, that's the Greek, sure. The experience of joy is related to that of hope, since we rejoice in hope of the glory. Okay, that's next is peace, shalom. Peace and joy regarded as complementary graces, since we are justified by faith. Okay, we have shalom, Elohim. The Greek word for peace, okay, we're not looking at that. The Hebrew word shalom means more than the affiliation, etc. It's a very deep word. In addition to the idea of having peace with Elohim, shalom implies the peace of Elohim, which passes all understanding. Jehovah himself is called the Elohim of peace, who crushes Satan under your feet, Romans 16:20. The three qualities of heart come from Yeshua, who calls his followers to abide in his love, his Ahava, and the Jerusalem prayer team, which I find their teachings are pretty interesting. I tend to agree with most of it, not all of it. But it says here, the Hebrew word of the day, Ahava. So it appears 45 times in the Tanakh. This number doubles in the Berit Hadashah. And that chapter obviously is 1 Corinthians 13. It's the most famous one of Ahava. So let's see. So Ahava is not the kind of love human beings experience. It is really from Elohim. All right. If I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not Ahava, it profits me nothing. What is Ahava? Isn't giving everything you own to the poor considered Ahava? Of course it is. It was then, it is today. The verse makes sense only if the word is replaced with what is in Hebrew Ahava. It is the common human Ahava to fellow man here. Okay, that didn't really explain it. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the Ahava, the Hebraic understanding of Ahava, not merely a feeling, it's not merely something in your mind or in your heart or an emotion. Thing of Ahava, not merely a here we go. Okay, so the Ahava, the Hebraic understanding of Ahava, not merely a feeling, merely something in your mind or in your heart or an emotion. It is really sacrifice. It is best expressed through obedience to self. Yoshua pretty much defined it best when he said, greater ahava is one's life for his friends. And he said, instructed us, in fact, that to love ahava one another as I have ahava you. So really the fullest expression of this is sacrificing for others. It's an action, it's something that you do, similar to the thing of oneself. Yoshua pretty much defined it best when he said, greater ahava is one's life for his friends. And he said, instructed us, in fact, that to love ahava one another as I have ahava you. So really the fullest expression of this is sacrificing for others. It's an action, it's something that you do. Similar to emunah, it's not merely a feeling. All these sacrificing for others. It's an action, it's something that you do. Similar to emunah, it's not merely a feeling. All these fruit of the Spirit are not merely feelings or head knowledge or a feeling. They are expressed in actions. They are concrete. So the way that ahava is really concrete is, just look around you. We're alive. We can breathe air. We have the creation around us. That's ahava. That we can. All these fruit of the Spirit are not merely feelings or head knowledge or a feeling. They are expressed in actions. They are concrete. So the way that ahava is really concrete is, just look around you. We're alive. We can breathe air. We have the creation around us. That's ahava. That we can see all these things Elohim created. We're alive. We can breathe air. We have the creation around us. That's ahava. So the way that ahava is really concrete is, just look around you. We're alive. We can breathe air. We have the creation around us. That's ahava. That we can see all these things Elohim created, so that we can live comfortably in an environment, for the most part, that is sustainable for human life and all life, plant life, animal life. That's ahava from its very foundation. He didn't have to create any of us or any of this, but he did, because that's really the fruit of the Spirit of ahava, which all the ones after proceed out of. Because if you do not have ahava, he didn't have to create any of us or any of this, but he did, because that's really the fruit of the Spirit of ahava, which all the ones after proceed out of. Because if you do not have ahava for Elohim, for man, then you cannot really fulfill the Torah. You can do so and fool people and just have an outward for man proceed out of. Because if you do not have ahava for Elohim, for man, then you cannot really fulfill the Torah. You can do so and fool people and just have an outward appearance of religion for man, then you cannot really fulfill the Torah. You can do so and fool people and just have an outward appearance of religiosity, but if you don't really love the Torah and his commandments, you don't really have a passion for it, and it's not in you to do it, like say for and just have an outward appearance of religiosity, but if you don't really love the Torah and his commandments, you don't really have a passion for it, and it's not in you to do it, like say for instance, everyone's dead, you're the last person on earth, there's no. If you don't really love the Torah and his commandments, you don't really have a passion for it, and it's not in you to do it, like say for instance, everyone's dead, you're the last person on city, then you cannot really fulfill the Torah. You can do so and fool people and just have an outward appearance of religiosity, but if you don't really love the Torah and his commandments, you don't really have a passion for it, and it's not in you to do it, like say for instance, everyone's dead, you're the last person on earth, there's no reason for you to obey the commandments. You don't really have a passion for it, And it's not in you to do it. Like, say, for instance, everyone's dead. You're the last person on earth. There's no reason. But if you don't really love the Torah and His commandments, you don't really have a passion for it, and it's not in you to do it. Like, say, for instance, everyone's dead. You're the last person on earth. There's no reason for you to obey the commandments. Well, you don't really have a passion for it, and it's not in you to do it. Like, say, for instance, everyone's dead. You're the last person on earth. There's no reason for you to obey and His commandments. You don't really have a passion for it, and it's not in you to do it. Like, say, for instance, everyone's dead. You're the last person on earth. There's no reason for you to obey the commandments. Well, maybe from a human perspective, there's no reason for you to obey. But you still obey. If they're the last person on earth, there's no reason for you to obey the commandments. Well, maybe from a human perspective, there's no reason for you to obey. But you still obey. If there's impunity and there's no penalty for sin, you still obey. That's the test. Maybe from a human perspective, there's no reason for you to obey. But you still obey. If there's impunity and there's no penalty for sin, you still obey. That's the test. That's the reason for you to obey. Do it. Like, say, for instance, everyone's dead. You're the last person on earth. There's no reason for you to obey the commandments. Well, maybe from a human perspective, there's no reason for you to obey. But you still obey. If there's impunity and there's no penalty for sin, you still obey. That's the test. There's no reason for you to obey. But you still obey. If there's impunity and there's no penalty for sin, you still obey. That's the test. That's the proof. You're a Hava. If there's impunity and there's no penalty for sin, you still obey. That's the test. That's the proof. You're a Hava. If there's impunity and there's no penalty for sin, you still obey. That's the test. That's the proof. You're a Hava. If there's impunity and there's no penalty for sin, you still obey. That's the test. That's the proof. You're a Hava. So that's the best way I can explain it from my understanding, my limited understanding of it. That's the test. That's the proof. You're a Hava. So that's the best way I can explain it from my understanding, my limited understanding of this concept of Ahava, of the Hebrew love, Ahava. There's impunity and there's no penalty for sin, you still obey. That's the test. That's the proof. You're Ahava. So that's the best way I can explain it from my understanding, my limited understanding of this concept of Ahava, of the Hebrew. You're Ahava. So that's the best way I can explain it from my understanding, my limited understanding of this concept of Ahava, of the Hebrew love, Ahava. And there's no penalty for sin, you still obey. That's the test. That's the proof. You're Ahava. So that's the best way I can explain it from my understanding, my limited understanding of this concept of Ahava, of the Hebrew love, Ahava. Okay, so that's so. Okay. What they say here, Simcha is connected to an important Jewish holiday, Simchat Torah. Okay. This holiday is celebrated on Shemini Atzeret. That's the 8th day after Sukkot. Okay. Simchat Torah is celebrated the same day, started by the sages during exile in Babylon. Okay, it's not the point. That didn't help at all. That website did not help with that understanding. Way to understand this is rejoicing. By rejoicing, I read a really good definition of this from another source. Okay, well. All right, so So the plan, that was from last year, April. So the plan for this message is, I think I will type out most of what I've spoke about in that video regarding ahava, simcha, and shalom, love, joy, and peace. But what I'm gonna do is not do it obviously in one big message that would be like 40 minutes long, but divide it into three. So that would be what is that? 3 divided by 40. I don't know. It's like probably 12 minutes, 13, around 13 minutes each. It's not too bad. So yeah, it'll be that way, and I might have to find a way to just extend the have a discussion because I mean, as much as that was a simplistic explanation of what it is, um, it's one of the deepest fruit of the spirit because that's really the motivation. That's the driving force. Uh, you could even make the argument and say that the Tanakh, the Old Testament, the New Testament, they're books that were essentially books of love. I think they're books of life. But what is life without love? And I'm not saying love in this romantic Hollywood type of way. I'm saying love as in the motivator, as in the uh, the purest form. The Hava of Elohim, essentially, which is never ending. It is. I mean, it's everything 1 Corinthians 13 described. So it would be amiss to not read that. So I'm going to just write down here to go through that. That's an important aspect of it. So that might be its own point on its own. Read it because everyone reads it, but really read it with the proper frame of understanding and the understanding that it's not just love. We're not saying love never, whatever gives up and such. But I mean, essentially, this isn't human. This is the spirit of Yah. This is Him. Is believes all things, hopes all things, and lies and all that, and evil. That is this is gonna sound a little controversial, but a lot of people make um, they like to well, not they like to, but it's a connection that isn't often seen. That when people talk about this term, um, it's called the fear of the Lord. I believe it's not actually fear. Like it's not terror. Um, Scripturally, when we define what fear of the Lord is, truly it means love, closer to love, something closer to love, because it is defined scripturally again to fear the Lord or the Yirat of Yah, to hate evil. It means hate evil, to love good. And when we look at the description in 1 Corinthians 13, love hates evil and rejoices in good. So essentially, uh, we could say the fear of the Lord and replace everything in 1 Corinthians 13 when it says love with fear of the Lord. Fear of the Lord, believes all things. Fear of the Lord, da da da. Or we can replace fear of the Lord with love. We can say, The beginning of knowledge is love. You know, because a lot of people, they think fear of the Lord, they think in a humanistic way, and they think, oh, you got to be afraid of God, you got to be terrified, you got to, yeah, you have to have on respect. I'm not saying you don't have reverence on respect, but part of that is love. uh, Without love there is no love casts out fear. I think there's a scripture that says perfect love casts out fear. So yeah, it must be a good thing where it says perfect loves cast out fear, but that's not the fear we're thinking. That's terror. That's not the fear of that's a fear of man. Um, Again, fear, I think in Hebrew is such a, I mean, this could be a message on its own, really, but trying to connect that fear of Yah is connected to love. So I think there's a connection there. Um, I think there's a connection there, in all honesty, that has not been explored very much, has not been explained very well. But when you connect Corinthians 13 to what is expressed in Proverbs, there is a connection with what King Solomon's talking about and what the Apostle Paul is writing about, where he says, just the love chapter essentially. And people use it at weddings and all that, not realizing this isn't a human love. This isn't something that you're going to have to try on your human effort. This is something that is divine. And it's not describing something we will be able to do probably in this lifetime, but something that is beyond us. And that's the power that will raise us from the grave. That is the power that is getting everything done, has created all these things. It is the power by which we can be pleasing to Him. It's the power by which we will move forward in the millennium. So, yeah, I mean, they say that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Not to simplify it and say that's just elementary and it's like kindergarten. And that's not what it's, I don't think that's what it's trying to say. It's saying that's the foundation. It's the foundation. And you don't, nobody makes fun of the foundation to say, that someone's foundations are trivial. No, the cornerstone, it's what it is. It's the cornerstone. So to reject the cornerstone, to mock it and to just ridicule it and just to trivialize it and to look down on it is wrong. It's essentially the cornerstone. Um, I'm just going to write it down here. The fear of the Lord is the cornerstone. Rephrase that. Rephrase it as the cornerstone, etc. Whatever else it describes. Who's the cornerstone? Sure. Well, he's described as the cornerstone, and he's pretty much the embodiment of Yah, uh, as being the mirror image of the Father, as close as you can get without him being actually the Father. And he's also, um, equated with the Word, and we know that God is love. We know Elohim is love. Um, I know fear of the Lord is associated with humans. Um, Maybe it is something we need to do. Is it something that is dependent on humans and needs human? This is something that's really philosophical. I would probably need other people to talk to me about this, but can you have the fear of the Lord without humans? Or is it completely independent of humans? Because it says to fear the Lord, it sounds like a verb again, is to hate evil, to love righteousness, for example, right? Um, to love righteousness, I think. Yeah, take this out of the question. Can you have fear without human beings on our existence? And people are spirit beings in the kingdom, and you're the angels and whatnot, and you're no longer carnal. You're now spiritual bodies, and you are incorruptible, non-perishable, so to speak. So, is there still fear of the Lord? I would say yeah, because it's the foundation. You can't exist without the right foundation. So yeah, I think yes, it is foundational. It's foundational. The foundation, and even the angels have it. I would say I'm gonna submit to you. The angels have this. They exemplify that. They embody that. So yeah, it's a very philosophical. Is that a right way to say it? Discussion and topic. But yeah, I've got into some interesting connections there. But I'm going to go to bed now because it's almost 2. Yeah, I got 10 minutes to go. So I'm going to end the stream. It's the earliest I've started a message in I don't know how long, but hope to work on it tomorrow a little bit. Maybe, I don't know how long, but at least at least get to the midpoint of the video, maybe, of that video. It's 40 minutes, something long like that, and get through it and just see. Um, maybe I can do more than one trade in one presentation, then to divide it, get into love, ahava, and then get into joy for a little bit, and then say, okay, we'll continue next week because due to time. So we'll do joy, finish off joy, and then do peace on the third one. So, it could still be 3. But yeah, today was supposed to be a joyful day, but I'm not going to pretend that I'm not that I'm happy about it, but I'm not going to sulk about it and just say woe is me and nobody's going through trials, because that's just not the case. No suffering or thing is pleasant when you're in the middle of it. um, People have suffered, believers have suffered on holy days, and Yeshua died on Passover. Literally, he was the Passover lamb. It's not like he was rejoicing on that day, like he was elated and just in euphoria. No. um, so people do suffer on, even on holy days. They go through hard times even on holy days. It doesn't mean just because it's a holy day or a Shabbat that means everything's going to be flowers and sunshine and everything. No, there's going to be hard times. But I think more important than being in a state of shalom or love, joy, peace, and all the fruit of the spirit in one is it spiritual? Is it edifying? Is it strengthening your relationship with the Father? Are you able to express your love to Him and love to each other? And yeah, that's a challenge in these times where people are isolated. But you use whatever avenues you have, whether it's digital or what have you, where you try to extend a warm hand or some kind of greeting or something, where you can connect with others through technology. And it's a great invention for sure. The many inventions we've been allowed to do, and to love Him on the Shabbat. We know the Shabbat came from Him. He gave it to us as a gift. He didn't have to give us a Shabbat. He could have said, "You guys can work 7 days. It's fine, or whatever. Do what you want on whatever day you want. Just do your own pleasure." But no, He said, you've got work to do. You make a living and etc. But I want you to stop just for one day. 1 day out of 7, just stop. And I'm not saying stop and just not eat or punish yourself. I'm not asceticism. I'm saying stop from your work because you work hard. So just take a break. Refresh yourself, get some rest, and gather together with fellow believers who are keeping this day. And this day isn't just for Not that you shouldn't learn on this day, not edify and encourage each other, and not fellowship and eat. It is a day where we should eat and get together and rejoice and worship Him, worship Yah. But we should also find opportunities to do good, whether it's to people in the faith or outside the faith or what have you. I'm not saying we're going to go and chop down a tree or build a bridge or some kind of thing like that. No, we're not doing that. I'm saying that you know we should follow the footsteps of the anointed one, Joshua, where he healed people, where you reached out to the marginalized in society and you make a difference in your community. Um, there are some big ways and small ways to do it, but we can't just be insulated and isolated and like the Americans and a lot of times were isolationists, so they wouldn't do anything. They were just in no man's land until they were pushed to the brink, and then they had no choice but to intervene and to get involved in the war or whatever it is. So so Shabbat is it's a great time. It is it's holy time. It's set apart. It's where we can really feel time. We can really be cognizant of the seconds and the minutes as they are given to us and as they are taken away, or as they are, you know, as they move forward. Kind of bittersweet because you're appreciative of the time you're given, but it's also bitter because you're thinking that time is limited and it's not a never-ending well. But it's sweet because you know that this temporary existence is leading up to something permanent. So time, although temporary, will soon become infinite when our temporary time is done here as a person, as a flesh and blood temple and bone and all that made of dust. Um, yeah. So I started this video off pretty somber. I was down. I didn't want to do this video at all. I didn't want to do a live stream. But but I know my body. Again, it's about knowing your body, knowing your flesh, and the spirit said, I know you're in pain. I know that. I know you are. I know you're in pain. I'm going to stop the stream. Hopefully, I can stop it before it gets too out of hand.